This is bright. It's bright. Oh, new lights. New lights. Hi, good evening. We're going to get started, but before we do, we would ask everyone to stand, please rise, and we always start every library trustee meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kurt, we good? Audio? Good. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Richie Lee. I am the treasurer on the Board of Trustees of the Mahwah Library. And along with Zoe Casotis, we welcome you to this Meet the Candidates evening. Board of Trustees has been doing this for the past 10 to 12 years. And we really enjoy doing it because it gives everyone a chance to learn a lot more about the various issues and about the people that are running. The questions that you're going to hear tonight all came from, maybe some of you seated or people watching. So these are issues that were raised by different residents. So hopefully they're all meaningful to you. Just to let you know, if you want to let your friends know, if you want to text them, this is being broadcast live on the Mahwah Library Facebook page, as well as the Mahwah Library YouTube page. The broadcast after tonight will be archived on the YouTube page, Kurt, correct? So if you want to let them know, tomorrow's Meet the Mayor candidate evening will be done the same way. So the format for tonight, it's not a debate. We're not taking any questions from the audience. There's going to be a series of 9 questions that have been submitted that we're going to be using for tonight's information. The first question was shared with the candidates at a meeting last week. Each candidate will have a chance to answer each question within 3 minutes or less. Each candidate will be given a chance to provide an opening statement. And I think that's it. So, Zoe, who's George? George Irvin will be the first one to provide his opening statement.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to the library board for hosting this event. And let me just give you a little bit of background about myself. Need these, though. My name is George Irvin. I've been married to my lovely wife, Christine, for 35 years. We chose to make our home in West Mahwah. Not by chance. We chose that home because it was a family member's home, and I was very familiar with the neighborhood from the time I was yo-high. It came time when our family was going to expand. We could have moved, but I decided I loved that neighborhood so much that we made an addition on the house, made it bigger, and life has been good. About my education, I attended Dominican College of Blauvelt, which now is Dominican University, where I got my bachelor's in business administration with my major being accounting. Although I've never been a practicing accountant, my education has served me well. Upon graduation, I was afforded the opportunity to become a managing partner of a retail wine and spirit shop in nearby Tallman, New York, which I did for 9 years. After that, I changed careers, worked for a commercial construction firm for 24 years, ending up as a senior superintendent and project manager. Another role I was tasked with at that job was that of safety and personnel manager. Upon dissolution of that relationship, I opened G. Irvin Contracting, a small construction firm right here in Mahwah, serving homeowners and small businesses in the Mahwah area and surrounding communities. Did that for almost 10 years. As far as my experience on the council, I was appointed to the council in 2016 when Mary Amoroso had won her seat and resigned to take her seat as a county commissioner. Let's see here. In 2016, I proudly served on the council until December of 2022. I've been a recreation committee member for 2 decades. I've served on our planning board since 2010. Can I finish? And currently do as well. I've served on Board of Adjustment as well for a period of about 2 years. Couple more sentences. As councilperson, I served as council vice president for 5 years, served as liaison to the Board of Health, Senior Advisory Board. I served on the Ordinance Committee and the numerous other committees, including our Facilities Maintenance Committee, HOA Outreach Committee, DPW Committee, among others. And thank you much. I don't want to take up more time than I was allowed.
Next, Michelle Paz, if you could provide your opening statement, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Paz, and I've been a resident of Mahwah since 1997. I'm a council member since January 2018 and the 2024 council vice president. As a council liaison, I serve on Access for All Commission, Mahwah Film Arts and Music Committee, and Senior Advisory Board. I've been married to my husband, Jerry, since 1996, and we have 4 children, ages 27, 25, 21, and 18. We were drawn to Mahwah because of its low taxes, variety of recreational spaces, and proximity to shopping and the New York City metro area. The strong sense of community, especially after one of our children received a diagnosis of autism, confirmed we made the best residential decision for our family. I'm running for Mahwah Town Council because the best way to pay homage to the town I love is to serve all residents and constructively contribute to the discussions and problem-solving mechanisms. I want to continue to participate in the process that moves Mahwah forward, keeps taxes reasonable, continues to attract appropriate commercial entities, and maintains consistency in its municipal services. I'm column number 4 on the local ballot, and I am here for all the people of Mahwah. I have an unofficial second slogan, you may have heard of it, called WYSIWIG, W-Y-S-I-W-I-G. What you see is what you get. My only agenda is to continue to make and serve Mahwah to the best of my ability, make decisions, and live my life in a manner that respects all individuals and helps as many people as possible. My background is C-suite executive support, and previous places of employment include St. Thomas Aquinas College and Jones Apparel Group. While working full-time in New York, raising 3 children because the 4th one wasn't born yet, I took classes at night and graduated from Alliance University, formerly known as Nyack College, with a bachelor's degree in organizational management. I only missed class when having my 3rd kid. After my 4th child was born, I stopped working in New York and began volunteering in the community. I hope I get to give you another opportunity to tell you what I volunteer for, so thank you so much.
And now, John Feason, if you could provide your opening statement, please. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Feason. A little bit about me. I graduated from Don Bosco, Seton Hall, and earned a Master's of Business Administration degree, an MBA, from Columbia University in the city of New York. Prior to retiring, I worked in corporate America as an employee and as a consultant for Unilever and PepsiCo, doing mostly consumer sales analytical work. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. My wife and I have lived in a very good town called Mahwah for 44 years, but the most important years have been the last 8 years, as I've attended about 200 town council meetings and many other board meetings. Simply by attending these meetings, I have learned a lot, but I don't know everything. I'm the new person on the block. I'm definitely not a member of the good old boys and girls network. I come to the table with some new, fresh ideas and different perspectives. Here are 6 examples of new things that I envision and I would promote. 1, increase the number of council members who are focused on the affordable housing issue from 1 to 3 council members. 2, create a citizen advisory board who can assist the town council. 3, conduct frequent town hall meetings for all residents. 4, hire a community director to improve communications in our community. 5, make the Mahwah Mile walking path a reality. And 6, set term limits. Twice is enough. I have a major concern about the way our current council is operating particularly when it comes to voting on the important issues. The vote is always the same, almost always the same. The same 5 persons voting the same way, almost all the time. I want a council that is composed of individuals who are independent and stand on their own 2 feet. They do their own investigation and research and arrive at their own conclusions and vote their own conscience. Council members should not simply follow the leader. As far as voting is concerned, I'm an independent voter. I vote for the person over the party. Thank you for your time.
And David, your opening statement, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to the library for hosting this important event. As we all know, an informed electorate is the cornerstone of any healthy democracy, and it's crucial for voters to learn about the candidates who seek to represent them. My name is David May, and I've been proud to call Mahwah home for over 20 years, where I live with my wife, Naomi, and our 2 daughters, Tori and Carly, both graduates of Mahwah High School. Professionally, I hold a bachelor's degree in organizational management and marketing from Felician University, and I've spent the past 20 years working in commercial real estate finance. However, what's most relevant this evening is my experience serving on the Mahwah Town Council. I've had the privilege of representing our community since 2017, and I was honored to serve as council president from 2018 to 2023. In addition to my role on the council, I've always been deeply involved in our town. Over the years, I've served as a Girl Scouts treasurer, coached multiple youth sports, and was the commissioner of Mahwah Youth Tennis. I've also been a board member for Mahwah Youth Sports and the Mahwah Raiders Soccer Club, where I also coached. I created the adult tennis program and cornhole tournaments through the rec committee, and currently run the township's outdoor movie night. I'm proud to assist with many of our town's events, including the holiday parade, food truck festival, and of course, the greatest day of the year, Mahwah Day. While on the council, I have been a liaison to the Board of Education, a member of the Ordinance Committee, and the Municipal Housing Liaison, working closely with the mayor and administration on affordable housing matters. I'm always willing to step in and help wherever needed because I believe in giving back to our community. During my time on the council, we've achieved several significant milestones. We passed a Wellhead Protection Act to safeguard our water supply, completed the long-stalled Masonicus cell tower project, and secured the Norfolk Village Senior Housing Complex, ensuring affordable housing for generations to come. We've also updated the tree ordinance to prevent clear-cutting, revitalized Continental Soldiers Field with new pickleball courts, turf, and lights, and collaborated with Congressman Gottheimer to repair the 17287 flyover. Most importantly, we successfully negotiated Mahwah's affordable housing settlement, reducing the number of proposed residential units by over 700 units, thereby protecting our schools, emergency services, water resources, and roads. I'm proud of the progress we've made, and I hope to continue representing Mahwah's residents to build on this work. And I look forward to addressing the questions this evening and have a meaningful discussion. Thank you.
Okay, the first question was presented to the candidates at a forum last week. Do you think there is overdevelopment or underdevelopment in Mahwah? Please explain your position. And the order will be Michelle, followed by John, David, and lastly, George.
And Ms. Casotis, we have 3 minutes, correct? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so the question was, do you think there's overdevelopment or underdevelopment in Mahwah, and explain your position? Okay, if one looks at Mahwah in a side-by-side comparison to New York City in 2024, one would definitely say there's underdevelopment here in town. But if one looks at Mahwah in 1900 and in 2024, one would definitely say it's overdeveloped. But let's look at Mahwah in a standalone lens in the here and now, October 2024. With all the edicts related to housing development that were issued in recent years out of Trenton, not just to our town, but to every municipality in the state of New Jersey, the town of Mahwah is overdeveloped. For context on housing and development in the state of New Jersey, municipalities were required to build a substantial number of affordable housing over a period of rounds, which started taking place in the late 1980s. Currently, the township of Mahwah is in the process of satisfying its 3rd round of obligation. The fourth round of obligation will start in 2025. From a developer's standpoint, it has been publicly stated that to make it worth the developer's while, 4 market rate units need to be built to compensate for the 1 affordable unit proposed. Currently, there are a few housing complexes in Mahwah that are 100% affordable, but most are a mix of market rate and affordable. The best way to manage overdevelopment in the township of Mahwah is to negotiate the number of units we will be required to build. Our exact number for round 4 will be available October 20th. Had we had this a couple of days later, we could have expounded more upon the number, but that's okay. Flat-out refusal to comply results in a lawsuit against and a fine to the municipality, which has the opportunity to increase taxes for its residents. Uncontrolled overdevelopment also results in a strain on municipal services. It can put pressure on emergency services. It substantially increases populations in schools and overworks the existing infrastructure. This is not something we want for the township of Mahwah. So as a council person, I will continue to work with our affordable housing liaison, talk to administration, work with our mayor to negotiate to make sure that the numbers that we are given make sense to our municipality, that our residents are comfortable with it, and that the projects proposed are done in a way that fits with the current landscape, adheres to the requirements, and makes the residents of Mahwah more comfortable with the new development that needs to take place. Thank you.
Do you think there's overdevelopment or underdevelopment? I think nobody wants to live in a suburban town that is overdeveloped with too much concrete and asphalt. Just ask all those folks who live near the new large warehouse that was built at the corner of MacArthur Boulevard and Ridge Road. In terms of viewing Mahwah as a whole, I think that we do not have overdevelopment in Mahwah as of today, but we are on the brink of going down the path of being very overdeveloped. Why do I say this? Well, a few buildings are on their way to being constructed. First, we are about to learn what the owner-developer wants to construct at the Crossroad Sheridan property when he submits his site plan for the 140-plus acres that he controls. The initial proposal calls for 4 buildings: a data center, a warehouse, a parking garage, and a fulfillment center. The only information we have now is that the fulfillment center will have a footprint of 800,000 square feet, which means that it could be 400 feet wide and 2,000 feet long. We do know that it will be 125 feet high and contain 5 stories, which will provide a total floor space of 4 million square feet. At that number, it'll be the 4th largest distribution fulfillment center in the United States. Talk about overdevelopment, 1 building. Second, at the end of Ridge Road, very close to the Ramsey border, a 74-unit building has been approved as part of the obligation to provide affordable housing. This project, of course, is connected to the development of Crossroad Sheridan. All of the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units will be offered as rentals. This large, tall, squarish building was squeezed into a small area, along with a parking concept called tandem parking, which is a variation of musical chairs but played with automobiles. Third, in order to meet our state-mandated affordable housing quota, many small parcels of land have been identified as locations to build buildings and group homes. The lot next to Firehouse Number 2 on Island Road is an example of using that land to build a 15-unit apartment building. If the issue of affordable housing did not exist, that building would not be built. As a candidate, my position is that we will always keep in mind the 3 Ps. We must preserve our town's rich history, heritage, charm, and character. We must protect our town from negative internal and external influences, and we must promote our town in a positive manner. We need to be very, very careful in the future when it comes to our town's zoning laws and approvals for any new construction. I intend to keep the 3 Ps, preserve, protect, and promote our town as the foundation for reviewing and voting on any new proposals. Thank you.
If I could just correct one thing that Mr. Feason said, at the Crossroads site, there's not going to be 4 buildings. There's only going to be 1. There's potentially a secondary building, but I didn't want that misinformation out there. The question of whether Mahwah is overdeveloped or underdeveloped is an interesting one, and much depends on how one defines overdevelopment. Ultimately, the answer can vary based on individual perspective. If I were a resident of Mahwah in the 1960s, 70s, or 80s, I might feel that the town has been overdeveloped. The late 80s and early 90s saw the construction of thousands of condominiums and townhomes, which significantly reduced green spaces and wooded areas. However, if I were living in one of those condos or townhomes, I might feel quite differently, perhaps seeing Mahwah as appropriately developed for a growing community. From my point of view, I'm not here to change anyone's opinion on whether Mahwah is overdeveloped or underdeveloped. Instead, I just want to emphasize that I have and will continue to fight to stop overdevelopment. There are 2 components that play into controlling overdevelopment. One of those components is the town's master plan, which outlines zoning throughout the town, as well as goals for the town to strive towards in regards to community planning. The master plan is a function of the planning board, and I recently put in a request that our planning board begin to update our master plan in 2025. The other component is affordable housing. This is because affordable housing looms over each town and is the cause for most overdevelopment. In my role as the municipal housing liaison for the township, I have been actively involved in the negotiations surrounding our affordable housing settlement. We have worked diligently to reduce the significant impact the original settlement could have had on the township. As part of these efforts, we examined all the large plots of land in town, carefully considering the pros and cons of potential redevelopment. In most cases, we found that the cons far outweighed any potential benefits. One particularly challenging time was during the COVID-19 pandemic, not just because of the health crisis, but because many vacant hotels and office buildings in town posed a threat of being redeveloped. We proactively contacted property owners to ensure they were aware of potential options and encouraged them to reach out to us before considering any sales or major changes. By staying informed about the local market and economic trends, we work to anticipate issues and develop solutions before they become problems. A recent example of our efforts involves the old post office property, which had been slated for a 199-unit assisted living facility, a massive development for the corner of East Ramapo Ave and Franklin Turnpike. Working together, we successfully eliminated that project and restored the original mixed-use zoning, limiting the area to just 14 units per acre instead of 50. Another example, of course, is the Crossroads property, which was originally slated for 800 residential units and 350,000 square feet of retail. This development would have changed Mahwah forever and affected the town in so many ways, as it would have pushed us to our limit on water capacity, led to overcrowded schools, stressed our police department, EMS, and fire department, as we would most likely need to add police and potentially move towards paid fire department. Those 800 units have been reduced to 74 and relocated to an area with similar types of housing. The retail component completely disappeared, and the site will eventually be occupied by a warehouse facility. I'll leave you with that. These are just some of the examples of what we've done over the past 4 years. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to be talking about the overdevelopment too. We live in the most densely populated state in the country. Comparatively, New Jersey as a whole can be considered overdeveloped. Compared to Northern Jersey and Sussex, we could also, in our town, be considered overdeveloped. Locally, as compared to our neighboring towns, I think we're doing better than most with the expansion of multifamily development, along with affordable housing mandates that we have managed to avoid these monstrous residential developments, which will only stress our infrastructure, emergency services, and school systems. We are very fortunate to have a large amount of open space, almost 5,000 acres of parkland in our town. With this, though, come people who like to enjoy it, who don't live in the area. And having access to that open space, they bring excess traffic to our local roads. So we do have to maintain and control that. I'm not a fan of overdevelopment whatsoever. I am a fan of redevelopment, taking things and repurposing them. A perfect example is the Crossroads site. At one point in time, that was a golf course. Another point in time, it was an airport. Another point in time, it was the largest automobile manufacturing facility in North America. Now, the time has come for it to change. Certain ideas have been proposed, certain zoning ordinances have been put in place to allow for certain maximum building heights as well as lot coverages. The development plan, as with any good plan, must be a balanced one, providing not only for the needs, but for the wants of the community. The wants of the community now are quite different than they were in 1980, as they were quite different in 1980 from in 1950. So we also have to learn how to adapt with these different needs and changes that you, the people we work for, want. We've been doing very well in our community preserving farmland. We have quite a few preserved farms in the area, and it'd be great to keep doing that. However, we're running out of those all over the state. And it'd be nice to maintain a more suburban atmosphere, which I believe we all want and would like, rather than that of a larger city. We have to protect our resources along with increased residential development. Commercial development must also come. With all this affordable housing and multifamily housing, I don't know if anyone realized, Township of Mahwah has one grocery store. We should be able to shop and live in our own community, which we pay taxes in. Thank you.
Okay, second question. We're going to stay on the development topic, and we're asking the candidates for their insights on how they would develop sites such as the old post office, which was touched upon by a few of the candidates, the Acme Shopping Plaza with a number of empty storefronts, and the property along Ridge Road known as the McBride property, which the town purchased 20 years ago. John will start, but we'll give him some time to prepare his answers.
How would you develop sites such as the old post office, Acme, and the property known as the McBride property on Ridge Road? First of all, the old post office property. That's 3.5 acres in our downtown area. The very first thing I would do is have a meeting with the people in the Cragmere section of town, which borders that property. And I would talk to them and discuss with them what their vision is. We need to engage the community and talk to them rather than telling them. Talking and telling are very different. So I would talk to them and say, what is your concept there? What can we do? What do you want to do? We would start a dialogue. That's the very first thing I would do. And I would explain to them in detail about affordable housing and what we have to do to meet the quota and how that property can help us meet that quota. So I would have at least one, maybe 2 town hall meetings with the Cragmere people because that's their neighborhood. They don't want to be saddled with something that they don't want. But then again, we have to do something with that property. It's a real eyesore. We need some solution to that property. It's been that way for far too long. The Acme Shopping Plaza, as I understand it, is controlled by some financial outfit that they really don't care too much about it. It's very, it's kind of run down, a lot of empty stores. We have to engage with that owner and say, we need something done here. I know that from council meetings, there's been some discussion of declaring that an area of redevelopment. So we need to just sit down with them and say, what's happening here? Now, the McBride property, I think I was at a council meeting and the mayor mentioned that that was a Green Acres property. So I'm a little confused because he can't touch Green Acres property. So I would determine what's going on there. I also understand that it's a hard area to build anything on, and that's one of the reasons it's been declared green acres. So definitely we need to do more things with these properties. First thing is to sit down and talk to the people close by. Certainly with the McBride property, if it's buildable, again, talk to the people in the condos who are in that neighborhood. We don't have enough communication in our town. We need to do that. We don't want any surprises where a bulldozer starts to knock trees down and people say, what the hell's going on? So that would be my answer for this number 2 question.
All right, the old post office, my favorite property. So that's been an eyesore for quite a long time if you've lived in Mahwah. So that is currently zoned for, like I mentioned earlier, 14 units to the acre. It's actually now a little bit over 4 acres. And the idea there would be to be, you know, some residential along with some retail. I think we need more retail in Mahwah, especially restaurants, eateries. And I think that'd be a great spot for that. You know, it's always referenced as the town center, or the Mahwah's downtown. You know, the council actually sees it a little bit differently. We would say that's probably like the starting point, but I think the downtown could be extended down Franklin Turnpike, and potentially even there could be a nice downtown area going up 202 towards Mahwah Bar and Grill. Acme Shopping Plaza is interesting as well. We did start down the road of declaring that an area in need of redevelopment because it was more than 50% vacant for a significant period of time, and that's the biggest metric. But shockingly, once we started that process, they started filling the stores up. So that kind of that got shelved a little bit. But I do maintain contact with the person that does the leasing there. The big problem is actually that property is, the ground is owned by one entity, and then it's ground leased to Albertsons, which owns Acme. Not to bore you with all this, but and Albertsons is not, you know, a real estate owner, real estate developer, so they struggle, from what I'm told, they struggle with actually signing the leases and actually getting to the finish line on filling those shops. I do think it's tired of a center. I mean, if you see that new Dunkin' Donuts by the gas station, that means the Dunkin' Donuts is coming out of the Acme Center, so that'll be a new vacant spot. So I think it's something we could definitely, you know, sit down, work with them, work with the owners, and see if there's something that could be done there. But we try to preserve as much of that to kind of eliminate as much housing as possible. So definitely worth a conversation. And the property along Ridge is open space. So, I mean, the only development there, which we've talked about, the mayor's here, I think. We talked about just making that open recreation space, maybe a band shell or something like that. Just something that nice for the residents. And especially right there with all the condos, they'd be able to access the if it's a park or something like that. And I think it would just be a nice addition to what the town already offers. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes. With the old post office area, I believe that we need to do some sort of mixed use in that area. And in spite of what some people think, geographically, it does not afford itself to be a transit village, not with one apartment building next to the train station. And some of these other towns, their transit villages abut hundreds of feet, hundreds of yards of train, and oftentimes on both sides. Geographically, Mahwah is quite different than, say, the town of Ramsey, because we don't have any at-grade railroad crossings. Most towns, like Suffern, Ramsey, Ridgewood, your downtown usually crosses over the railroad tracks or parallels it. Geographically, we don't have the space. Franklin Turnpike in some spots is only 20 yards away from the railroad tracks. So maybe that is something that could have been done in the past, but let's not talk about the past, let's talk about the future. I'd like to see some mixed-use development there, a little bit of retail, a lot more retail, a little bit of housing, because we still do need housing. Let's see. Now, also too, we must have something there that is truly viable commercial retail. Mahwah is one community, not separate communities, so I think everyone should have a voice on what goes there. Not simply Cragmere, not simply West Mahwah. Geographically, we're the two communities that are closest to that. It would have the most ill effect if there were traffic problems and things like that. Again, the McBride property, we've talked about that, and we've spoken about it when I was a council person, and I've heard them as well, that some type of more passive recreation up there would be an ideal spot. This way, we're maintaining some open space. We're also providing something for the residents to do. Any of the new residents that come in for the affordable housing, they need stuff to do. We're not a transit village. It's not like they leave their homes, go to work, and we only see them when they come home. So that's really all I have to say about that. Oh, the Acme Shopping Center. I don't know if anyone remembers when it was first redone. I mean, it was like Mayberry. Everyone went out to take a look at it. It's aged. It hasn't aged well. I had built several stores over there over the years. And again, I believe it's more of a leasing problem and expense than with clients who actually want to be there. So developing a good relationship with those property owners is very important, and we need to do that as a council and administration. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to make this a smidge interactive. Who's been over to Boulder Run over in Wyckoff? Okay. Oh, come on. Only you guys. All right, there's Marshalls there. There's restaurants. There's a Stop and Shop. Did you also know that there's some apartments above some of those stores? So that's what I envision for Acme, but that can't happen until there's communication, dialogue, and also, of course, input from residents, because I would imagine that every single person here in this audience is a taxpayer. So if you're a taxpayer in Mahwah, you have an opinion. So there's plenty of venues in which to voice your opinion, so we would want to hear from our residents with regard to that. But in the, so that's what I would love to see over by the old post office. Because again, another reason too, you see a lot of kids of people of different ages, I should say, over in Boulder Run. And if we're encouraging our children and also just some of our adults who don't go out as much to be out, what a great place to go, to the center of town, rather than getting in your car and driving them to the mall or making an effort to really, really go somewhere. So that would definitely be my vision, with input, of course, for the old post office. As far as the Acme is concerned, also in a perfect world, Mahwah is, if you didn't know this, Mahwah is within the 30-mile radius of film and television from New York City. A perfect world would be a soundstage to be built, because when you bring in the soundstage, you bring in the film and television productions, you're supporting local businesses. So again, communication with the Acme property owners and the leaseholders would definitely be worthwhile, and hopefully something that could come from a vision to a reality. And then as far as the McBride property over on Ridge Road, yes, it should be for active and passive recreation, because people do need to go out, walk, ride their bikes, just enjoy nature, because the sign at the bottom of MacArthur does say Bergen's Parkland. So that would be a great way to enhance that. So those are my 3 ideas for these properties that were listed in question number 2. So thank you so much.
Okay, the third question deals with affordable housing. Affordable housing impacts many towns across New Jersey, and this topic has 3 components. A, do you believe Mahwah can continue to absorb additional state mandates while preserving quality of life, and how? B, what are your thoughts on where additional affordable housing units should be built? C, many New Jersey towns have collectively joined a lawsuit against New Jersey regarding affordable housing. Whether the town is currently in compliance with New Jersey's affordable housing mandates or not, would you recommend Mahwah join this lawsuit? First will be David, followed by George, Michelle, and finally John. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so do I believe Mahwah can continue to absorb additional state mandates while preserving quality of life, and how? I do not. That's why we've fought so hard to reduce the number of residential units being built in the township. You know, round 4, as Michelle mentioned, the number is going to be coming out next week, and there's going to be a fight on our hands. The one thing that I will say is, I'll tie that into the lawsuit. The new law that was just passed by the state this year, there's an exemption for the Highlands Coalition, and Mahwah is a part of the Highlands. And that exemption is that the Highlands is going to be able to put out a max build number, and that's supposed to hold water, depending on whatever number DCA gives out. So that max build is really what we're going to be striving for. Just as an example, in round 3, we had our realistic development potential. That was 250 units. That's what they say the town can absorb. After all these maneuvers that we've done, the most recent calculation that our planner came up with was for round 4 is a RDP of 16. So we're trending in the right direction. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't believe we could really absorb that much more, mostly because of our water capacity, which is where the Highlands comes in. Where affordable housing units should be built, it's case-by-case basis. You know, we do try to spread them throughout town, so it's not just all in one spot, one place. I know a lot, you know, neighborhoods don't like that, but I mean, it is fair to kind of, we have what, 7 different neighborhoods throughout town. And you know, it's to kind of just spread them out, and they're all different. You know, it's a group home, or it's multifamily, or one that's coming up next is veterans housing. So we also trying to solve issues too while we're at it. Because in the last study that was done for affordable housing for round 3, the majority of need was actually for senior housing, and also for special needs housing. And we did both of those: Norfolk Village, senior housing, and then also group homes for developmentally disabled. And I think this next one for veterans housing is going to be really nice, really important for the township. I would just say cross your fingers, but believe in us. We did it right for round 3, and we'll do it again in round 4. Thank you.
Okay, the affordable housing impacts many towns. I do not believe that we can really afford to absorb much more of this housing. What we have done in negotiating is working our way through this so that we don't have to have unfettered development. I don't believe that it should be our responsibility for a developer to come in and, just because they're going to build a few affordable housing units, build 4 for every one that they're going to provide for our township. We also have to realize that affordable housing is not a dirty word. A lot of people need it. I've heard people call it low-income housing. There are different variances and thresholds of the incomes that are needed to purchase those things. I think it's diabolically messed up the way it's being done right now, that we are not empowering people to take care of themselves in the future. Everything that's being built now is rental units. Rental units, rental units. The people who get rich from that or wealthy from that are the developers, not the township, not the renters. I think that's got to be stopped. additional affordable housing units, they should, I think we've done a good job. They should be scattered throughout the town. West Mahwah, I think we have 3, maybe 4 group homes in West Mahwah. Why should they all be over there? They should be spread through every one of the 7 areas in our town. And we've tried to do that in our negotiations. And then as far as the recommend with the lawsuit, at this stage, right here, right now, today, I would say no. We do not know what our number is coming up. It'd be nice to have the information on that to see how we may be able to move forward with meeting those needs. And then, if necessary, I would not have issue with doing it. I think it's a good idea. I like Mike. I talk to him a lot. But their problems over there are just that, their problems. They brought a lot of their problems on themselves. The development over in Montvale and Woodcliff Lake compared to Mahwah is outrageous, and I don't think that we need that in Mahwah, and we've been doing a very good job. I did while I was on the council. I'm still involved with it on the planning board from a planning standpoint, and I think that's where I stand on the affordable housing issue.
Oh, yes, everybody's favorite subject, affordable housing. Okay, so do I believe Mahwah can continue to absorb additional state mandates while preserving quality of life, and how? The mandates are going to come. Whatever the round is, municipalities are going to get handed these outrageous numbers that they may or may not be able to handle. So what I would want to do as a council person is to help negotiate the number. So again, we don't know what's coming in round 4, but if it's something that's really out of hand and not realistic, negotiation is key. And as far as my thoughts on where additional affordable housing units should be built, my personal thing first is we lost a bunch of units off of our rolls with the dissolution of the Housing Commission. So my first solution would be to try to buy back all of those units that went from affordable to market and make them affordable again, because then that would prevent building additional units. Also, as well as putting different types of housing throughout the township of Mahwah, because especially with regard to group homes, because that's something that a lot of people have moved to the state of New Jersey for over the past several years, because their loved ones have some sort of challenge, whether it's intellectual, physical, et cetera. And these are the proactive conversations that people need to have, especially with regard to group homes, because they're the ones, when we're not here anymore, are going to need to put our loved ones in a place and know that they're taken care of when we are no longer here to take care of them. So by putting them in different places in Mahwah, it helps give different families different options to make sure that the care of their loved one is ensured when they're no longer here. And then as far as joining the lawsuit, we were advised by our legal counsel, don't do it at this time, Mahwah. We're still fulfilling round 3 and have the opportunity to join the lawsuit in the future if our round 4 obligation numbers are outrageous. So at this time, I don't believe we should join the lawsuit, but I'm happy that we have the opportunity to do so in the future. Thank you so much.
As was said, on October 20th, a few days from now, the state will provide Mahwah and almost all other towns with the new affordable quota for the 4th round. Mahwah's 3rd round quota is 830, which was met and was slightly exceeded. And I think Dave May's done a very good job in making that happen. He should be congratulated for that achievement. The projected number for Mahwah that I've seen is for the 4th round is 911, an increase of 81. We are really at maximum right now. I would agree with what's been said. It will be very hard to absorb additional state mandates while preserving the quality of life. There are not too many pieces of property in our town that can be converted into group homes or large buildings in our town. You know, do you know that New Jersey is the only state in the union that has this crazy thing called affordable housing units? And it all stems from the Mount Laurel decision that the court made back in, like, I think 1972. It's always been a problem for New Jersey towns, and the problem has only increased because the available land has decreased, and the quotas keep going up and up and up. And there's no end in sight. That's the real problem. There'll be a fifth round, and there'll be more and more. The mayor of Montvale has decided that enough is enough and has started the legal process to sue the state of New Jersey and stop the mandate. He has asked the towns like Mahwah that feel the same way that Montvale does to form a coalition and send a signal to Trenton that this practice has to eventually come to an end or some negotiated settlement. I've spoken to Mike Casali in Montvale. He's the mayor. I know him from the days we worked together at Unilever and Englewood Cliffs. He's simply asking that any town that wants to join Montvale to contribute $10,000 a year for 2 years to be a member of the coalition. Total $20,000. We just spent $84,000 on a new bocce court on Continental Soldiers Field. I think we can spend $20,000 and be part of the coalition and not be silent. Silent is acceptance, and I don't think we should accept. I support his efforts because we must try to bring this to some kind of conclusion. And I would strongly suggest that Mahwah become a member of the coalition. But I believe the town council has decided not to join the coalition at this time. But I think we should. Also on this subject, and I can allude to what I said in my opening remarks, right now we have one council member who is the affordable housing liaison. And I think we should have 3 council members do that. Because if this one council member, David May, picks up and leaves or something, we don't have the bullpen that can come back and fill that vacancy. So I think this is a very, very important subject. The mayor has said affordable housing is like a gun to your head. In fact, 2 guns to your head, he said. We have to stop this somehow. And I think we need to have 3 council members focus on this very, very important issue. It's the #1 issue in Mahwah. Thank you for your time.
Next question. What is your plan to lower taxes in Mahwah? If wasteful spending cannot be substantially identified, how will you increase revenue or adjust services to support tax reductions? Is that first? Sure. Okay. When you're ready.
As a member of council, I do not lower taxes. I don't know that it's even possible in today's economy. We have a mayor and administration who's been working very diligently so that we've had the lowest tax increase in, I don't know, 20 years. Things go up. They're going to continue to go up. The only way that we could lower taxes if we were to cut services. So I ask everyone, what do you want to do without? Do we want to go to 1 day a week garbage? I don't think so. Do we want to start letting people go? I don't think so either. I don't believe that we have quote unquote wasteful spending, but there are certain things that we need, which we take care of all of them, and certain things that we want. For instance, like a bocce court, which is something that everyone in the town can use. It's not put there just for the kids. It's not put there just for the older people. It's there for everyone. It's part of our allure. I often say that Mahwah is a victim of its own success. That's why so many people love to live here. Now, increasing revenue. I do have several ideas on increasing revenue. And as a matter of fact, when I was a council member, I did work on an ordinance regarding dumpsters because it also has to do with construction. I don't know if everybody knows that nowadays you don't need to get a permit if you're doing for like renovation of a kitchen, a bathroom. You don't need it for a roof. You don't need it for siding, which leads to a lot of people not playing by the rules. So if we have a dumpster ordinance in place where anytime you want to get a dumpster at your house, township must be informed. We must know the number of that dumpster, the company it's coming from, and we must know it's at the house. And then this way, our code enforcement official now has pause to actually see what's going on in the neighborhoods. Now, I'm not saying you want to bust your neighbor, but you know what? Everything has to be done legally. And like for like doesn't mean you take a toilet out, you redo all the piping and put another one in. As soon as you touch that piping, that means you're doing plumbing work. And as far as that, charge a nominal fee. If there's a violation, make the violation, make a penalty for it. You have to play by the rules to be fair for everyone. That's really, I could talk for hours on this, but that's all I have right now. I think I hit the main points.
Okay, so if we do a wonderful thing like cut taxes, guess what else gets cut? Services, employees, and our quality of life in our town. I'll give you an example. One of the biggest things that will show if we cut taxes would be the condition of our roads. Go across the border into Rockland County. How many of you have come back with like a ding in your car or, you know, a flat tire because you ran it through a pothole? These are some basic things that could happen if we cut taxes, cut employees, and just started to let what we've built in our town, that quality of that service suffer. But as far as wasteful spending is concerned, as council persons and as members of the public, as Mr. Feason has attended budget hearings, we go through it line by line as a responsible council to talk about expenses, categories, and services. And some of the other committees have had funds reallocated from their budget to things that were needed, like for things for the police department or the fire department. So unfortunately, taxes are a necessary evil, but a responsible mayor, a responsible administrator will present a tight budget as they have been doing for the last several years. And then a responsible council will go through and do its due diligence over each line item and expenditure and question it if it is something that could be negotiated, moved around, or et cetera. So to increase revenue, one of the greatest things that has been happening, although on a small scale, baby steps, our Mahwah Film, Arts, and Music Committee has been bringing in productions to the Township of Mahwah. So these productions have had to go to the clerk's office and fill out permits for every day that they're filming in Mahwah. So while the township's general fund is being increased, albeit slightly over time, local businesses' revenue is also being increased because they're using the services in town during their film and television shoots. So we would try not to reduce services because, again, as Mr. Irvin has said, if anyone has lived through the once-a-week garbage collection from several years ago, that was gross. That's not something that we want to revisit. So let's find a way to be responsible, diligent, and not have spending that could be considered wasteful, as we are all responsible to the taxpayers of Mahwah. Thank you so much.
In my opening remarks, I said, create a citizens advisory board who can assist the town council. This is a perfect opportunity to bring some of the people who live in Mahwah, who work in the financial sector, and bring them in and say, we want to lower taxes and we want to stop wasteful spending. Can you help us? This is an excellent opportunity. We have a lot of successful people in Mahwah. You drive around, some of the homes are like, wow, indicating to me that they're doing something really right in their field. If we can tap into that resource, we could bring these people in and present this problem to them and say, here are the books. Take a look. What do you think we can do? it doesn't all have to be on the town council shoulders. They can use the advisory board as a resource to try to identify some opportunities and some opportunities and some ways to make money and save money. One thing that I've been impressed with, two things I've been impressed with going to these meetings, is grants. We can get a lot of money and have gotten a lot of money through grants. That bocce ball court got 47, half of it was paid for by a grant. So we should do more of that. I know we have a grant writer. Years ago, we never did, and a grant writer was put on the payroll or part-time payroll, whatever, and that's an excellent thing to do. The other thing, as Michelle mentioned, is when they go through the budgetary process, it's a line-by-line thing. I don't know if it's zero-based budgeting, but it's probably pretty damn close to it. So the taxes are very low. I mean, everybody in town almost says, I came to Mahwah because of the low taxes. If we move my house over to Ramsey, the taxes would go up 75, 80%. One of the reasons we moved to Mahwah was because of the taxes, and I think a lot of people did. Goes back to the old farming days. And some of the smart people who developed the Route 17 corridor to make that a whole business sector, very smart people back in the old days, they kept the taxes down, and we continue to keep the taxes down. So I would say we present this to the advisory board and say, hey, here's the books, see if you can help us. And I think we can benefit from that. We can benefit from getting some expert advice from outside the council.
First, I just wanted to go back to that last question and thank Mr. Feason for the compliment about me as a municipal housing liaison. Although he would like 3, it's a state statute. There's only 1 per municipality. I would say that most of the council members are focused on affordable housing, and I update them as much as I can. But for taxes, everyone's favorite topic, let's see. Lower taxes. Very hard to do. We're trying our best, though. I have some stats for you. So I bet you everyone in here knows that Mahwah is a AAA bond-rated town, right? There's only 26 municipalities in New Jersey out of 564 that are AAA bond rating. We're one of them. Our tax increases have been trending in the right direction. Back in 2020, our tax increase was 3.87%. In 2022, it was down to 2.49%. And this year, the lowest tax rate in over 20 years was 1.30%. You know, we talked about budget hearings. You know, it's hard because that's what happens. If you're going to cut taxes, you're cutting services. You're taking away tools from our emergency services. You know, we sit in these budget hearings in February, March, and our fire department says, you know, we need new turnout gear. Not going to give them turnout gear? Of course you are. You know, we need air packs. We need a truck. You know, the town has to operate. So, like I said, cutting is tough. One of the things that hopefully will go towards that is that we're going to have a decent, I'll say decent size, pilot agreement with the Crossroads property. That should give us definitely a few $1 million every year. That can go to offset capital, that can go to pay down debt. Another way to kind of maintain our tax rate, shared services, like Michelle mentioned, filming permits, which we've been increasing throughout the town, filming opportunities, cell towers, which we just completed one. We have an agreement with Crossroads that we're going to have a 50 50-50 split of the revenue from the cell tower that's going to be in their parking lot. If everyone knows where the New York Stock Exchange is on MacArthur, there's some towers next to that building. Those are called data towers. They're not cell towers. And people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on there. And we have a couple, and we have a few more that are going up. And then like Mr. Feason said, grants. A couple of years ago, we really pushed to get a grant writer, and it's been working out well. And I just want to mention the one thing that we've been successful in, which has been a goal of mine, was to reduce the percentage that tax revenue is of the overall budget. That's trending down also. And this year, same thing, has been the lowest it's been. Thank you.
The fifth question, what can be done to ensure that businesses comply with Mahwah's ordinances so they do not load, unload trucks during off hours, exceed decibel levels, and engage in other non-compliant behavior? What is your position on restricting noise levels such as leaf blowers, other equipment, loud music, and related quality of life issues? The order will be Michelle, followed by John, David, and George. Thank you.
Okay. So one of the most important things to ensure that businesses comply with Mahwah's ordinances so they don't load, unload trucks during off hours, exceed decibel levels, et cetera, is to encourage communication from our residents. Residents do have the opportunity. We have a wonderful, responsive police department. If there's something going on, residents should indeed, please call the police. They can come out and check out what's going on and possibly, obviously, definitely ask them to stop engaging in that offensive noise, especially if it's late at night or early in the morning. And also they could maybe perhaps, if it continues and it's excessive, issue summonses, et cetera. We also have some code officials as well employed by the Township of Mahwah who also could go around at different times, especially during large projects, to see if people are indeed complying with the law that is on the books. And as far as restricting noise levels such as leaf blowers, loud music, and other related quality of life issues, people move to Mahwah for a reason. And that's where also communication, again, is highly encouraged because first and foremost, if I have a neighbor, and it did happen, I can swear to this, that our neighbors who had just moved into the house over 20 years ago decided to start doing construction at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And, and I wasn't sleeping well the night before. So, for example, instead of going straight to the police, my husband went over and talked to them. We should definitely encourage civil communication among neighbors. And then again, if it still continues, then that's where also code enforcement, law enforcement can come in. So as far as my position on noise levels, we do have a noise ordinance, which at this time is adequate, but yet there are some individuals and some businesses that do not always comply. And that's where also support comes in to be able to encourage everybody to follow the letter of the law and to ensure that all of our residents have a good quality of life. Thank you so much.
Noise levels works both ways. Communication. We need to tell all the residents what the rules are for noise so that everybody in town understands when can they start, when they have to stop, and then we need to enforce it. We have a lot of people in town, DPW people, police, we have all the residents, 25,000. But if they knew what the rules were, what they can do, what they can't do, then we could have good communication and somebody can call up and say, it's 7 o'clock. A guy is out here landscaping with a leaf blower. They're not supposed to do that. So we need some rules of the road clearly identified. Now, noise is one of my favorite subjects because I've been involved with the gun range up at the firing range at the Police and Fire Academy for 100 years, and nothing's ever been done. It's to the point where all the residents on Elizabeth Lane and Eileen Drive and Windsor kind of gave up. You can't fight City Hall. I've spoken to the freeholders, or now the commissioners, 5 times and said, please help us, and nothing's been done. I've invited the town council up there for a tour. I was able to meet with some of the people up there, the range master, and say, can the town council come up and have a tour of the range and see what's involved? We hear it, but we don't see it. Can we see it? And twice the people in charge of the range said, yes, come on up, we'll be glad to have you. And twice I went to the town council and said, take a tour. It's in your town. You don't have to go to another town. It's in the town. And twice they said, nah, we'll do it later. And later never happened. So a little disappointment. They shoot more than a million rounds, 1 million bullets are shot every year up there. But you can't fight City Hall. So that effort simply vanished. But the more communication we have, the more understanding about the noise levels, the better. Thank you.
So I drive around and I get very frustrated when I see people not following our ordinances. My big one is actually people that put signs on telephone poles. That really bugs me. But anyway, back to this question. So a lot of this stuff falls up to our zoning officer. So your best bet is if you have an issue, you want to call town hall, get in touch with the zoning officer. We also have code officials, especially like this one where it says, do not load, unload trucks during off hours. That's usually part of their master plan resolution, planning board resolution, which that's like the law for individual properties. When they get their resolution from the planning board on their use, they have to follow that. And if they're not following that, it's up to the zoning officer to enforce that. We've had issues like this with at Mahwah Business Park. I get calls all the time about it, text messages, and I reach out to the land use department who oversees zoning, and they deal with it. In regards to this other stuff, I mean, it's interesting because we passed ordinances for all this stuff: leaf blowers, construction equipment, that kind of thing, music, outdoor music. So I would say that Mr. Fees is right. I mean, the residents really have to understand what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's allowed and what's not allowed. It's probably loud too. So like leaf blowers, landscapers, during the week, they're allowed to start at 7. On Saturday, they're allowed to start at 8. On Sunday, they're allowed to start at 9. I've called a couple times because landscapers started on the weekend by my house earlier than they were supposed to. Loud music, we passed an ordinance that restricts restaurants to only having outdoor music 7 times a year. So really, anyone has an issue, you should reach out to us. We can craft an ordinance. It takes time, keep that in mind. But communication is key. Let us know what's going on. We'll always try to address it, just like we address these issues. And we're your council members, so we're open 24/7 for you guys. All right, thank you.
Yeah, similarly to everyone else that was up here, compliance is the main thing, and informing those offending individuals is also key. When you're talking about businesses, you got to think too, are we talking about static businesses, which are in one place, who may be loading or unloading a warehouse? Or are we talking businesses that are transient? Perhaps someone coming in and doing a construction project. A lot of that should be part of the permitting process. I worked in a lot of job sites all throughout the Northeast. Some of the toughest places to actually work on a Saturday or Sunday, Brooklyn, New York. You could only get a permit to work one of those 2 days, and you couldn't work more than 2 of those days in any 8-day period. So you couldn't work Saturday of this week and Sunday of next week and work back to back. The other thing is the enforcement. We do have our code enforcement officer. Problem is, a lot of times, by the time they get there, the offending party is not offending anymore. So it's very difficult to write a citation. It's also very difficult to determine what the decibel level is. However, we do have on our side nuisance noise, for which you don't need to have a decibel level. It has to be a nuisance. A leaf blower going at 7 in the morning, that is a nuisance. Same as a dog barking at 3 o'clock in the morning is a nuisance. And the main thing is communication. We do not know sometimes, Mahwah's a big town, 26.2 square miles. A lot of times we don't know what's going on the other side of town. And Facebook is not the place to complain about it if it is happening to you. The best thing would be to call the police department, especially if it's off hours. If not, call town hall, get a hold of the land use department, the code enforcement official, and things will be taken care of. I've seen it where they've come out when Tom Mulvey was there. He'd go out and he would do tests on lights, because that's another big issue now. All the LED lights. You have a light shining in your window. You have a light shining in your window. Who's going to come and check it out? As far as noise, it's very difficult to enforce, only because it takes specialized equipment, which you need specialized training for. To invest that kind of money and have an officer on duty at all times would be prohibitively expensive. So again, it's really communication, letting our people that are working in the town know what the rules are, especially when they apply for permits, and if they are going to be doing construction projects. Thank you.
Another tax question. Are there plans for a property tax reduction and/or freeze for senior citizens?
Three magical words: property tax reduction. I don't think so. We are going to have, as was announced at a town council meeting, I think back in April, a property reevaluation. And this reevaluation will probably start in 2025. It'll cost the town more than $1 million that the town must bear. And everybody, including businesses, will have a visitor from an outside agency, outside firm, and they will enter your home and they will evaluate what's in your home. Have you added an indoor swimming pool? Or have you added a bathroom? Or have you upgraded your kitchen? Whatever. And the whole purpose is to revalue your home. And I've heard that someone said, sometimes your taxes will go up based upon what you've done to your home over the years. Some people will, the taxes will not be affected, they'll stay the same, and some taxes may actually be reduced. It all depends upon who did what, where and when, and how many people did it. But it's coming, and we should brace ourselves for their arrival. And a comparison made from what's on the rolls right now versus what you've done to your home. It's a bit scary, and it's coming. In terms of a freeze for senior citizens, I'm not very familiar with that, even though I am a senior citizen. But I believe there's some anchor program that's around. I would think that at the senior center, Ali, the director there, would have that information. She is excellent at that senior center, and she's probably brought in some people who are experts at this, where the seniors can go and make themselves available, and they could listen and learn from some experts at the senior center. So this tax reduction thing would be great, but it may go the other way. Thank you.
I'll be quick. Property tax reduction for seniors, I have not heard about that. I don't know if that's on the docket, but if there's a way that we could potentially pull that off, I'm sure we would consider it. Same thing as a freeze. I think the freeze usually, because Rockland County has one, I think it's really above the municipal level. I think it's got to be county or state. Actually, I think the state might even have something currently in New Jersey. There you go. See that? Confirmed. So taxes for us, not so much with freeze and reduction, but we do offer discount on water. I think it's just water. But if there's a program out there, like I said, Rockland County, I think it's called the STARS program, something we potentially could look at. But I think, like I said, it's worked through the county. But like I mentioned earlier, when we're talking about taxes, we're trying to reduce everybody's taxes. So hopefully we're successful in that, and everyone will be happy, not just seniors, but we like the seniors. Oh, and also, yes, I agree. Allie, she has great programs. She knows every available program for seniors. If it's, energy rebates or potentially tax rebate, that kind of thing. She's our human services director in addition to senior center director. So I would definitely reach out to her. Thank you.
Again, this is a question that really won't take long to answer. I believe New Jersey does have a freeze program. And it'd be nice to see us do in New Jersey, and in particular in Bergen County, something similar to what they do in Rockland County with the Enhanced STAR program. My mother lived in Suffern, New York, had an acre of property, relatively small house. She was paying about $1,250 a year. When she passed in 1986, when I took care of doing the probate, since my mom wasn't there, we had to pay the full rate, over $14,000. Now, tell me any senior that may be in this room couldn't use that money, that needs to be done. And as far as doing it on a municipal level, I'm not sure that we're even allowed to do something like that. So it has to do more with the county and state level. And that's it. Thank you.
So as the council liaison to the Senior Advisory Board, I do have the pleasure of going to the meetings once a month and seeing all of the brochures that our wonderful Senior Center Director, Ali DeRoy, has laying around the center. So one of the papers that she had was called Senior Freeze, which is a state of New Jersey tax freeze initiative. She also talks about the anchor property rebate in her senior advisory meetings and is open for questions in case any seniors or other people, as the director, since she's also director of human services, is able to ask her. And then as far as reducing property taxes and just keeping it anonymous, a very, very dear friend of ours lost his spouse, not working, needed to have a conversation. So, and I directed him to Mr. Rinaldi in our tax department. And no, at this time, No, they cannot reduce his municipal taxes, but what the solution to that was a potential tax reassessment. So at this time, from the municipal level, while we can't actually reduce taxes, we highly encourage our residents to look into these state initiatives such as Senior Freeze and the Anchor Property Tax Rebate. Thank you so much.
Question number 7. Until the Crossroads Development Plan is finalized and approved, what would you suggest is the best course of action to improve traffic flow and safety at the Route 287, Route 17 intersection, since accidents immediately impact our local roads and streets? This will be first for David May, followed by George, Michelle, and finally John. Thank you.
Crossroads, hot topic. So I think I mentioned it earlier. The one thing we did back in 2021, along with the mayor, we set up a Zoom call because it's still COVID time with Congressman Gottheimer, and we told him that it's been decades, and every few weeks a truck is flipping over on the flyover, and it's enough is enough. We need the fix. And we had a study that was done several years before that it was going to be $30 million, and they just passed the infrastructure bill for $2 billion, and we're like, what's 30 million from 2 billion? Not much. So Congressman Gottheimer made us a promise that he would look into it, and he actually came up with a great fix without spending that much money. They made the flyover 1 lane instead of 2. Since that change has been made, I mean, there's been nothing. No trucks have flipped over there. Then, of course, later on, the state repaved 287 with some weird pavement that trucks were sliding all over the place. So then that caused another issue. We actually reached out to Congressman Gottheimer about that as well, and that was addressed too. So, I mean, we've been in the clear for a few months, not to jinx it. Is this wood? Knock on wood. But the one thing that I think is left to do to fix the traffic flow there is, and I've seen in other places, they need to paint the interstate signs on the lanes, because that's what causes a lot of the confusion. You're over here, am I going 287 south, north, Albany, this, that? If they painted the signs on the lane just so earlier on you could know exactly where you need to be, that would fix a lot of the problems. Because how many times have you seen someone's in this lane and all of a sudden they're going to Westchester, or they're going onto 287 south and they're like, oh, I really want to go to 17K. It's madness over there. And I actually have talked to the Crossroads developer about that specifically, and I hope that is something that's going to be worked into their redevelopment plan. So I think that is the one fix that's left to be done. Obviously Friday nights going up to the Catskills or whatever, there's going to be traffic. A lot of people headed in the same direction. Same way you hit traffic going down the shore. But I think there are some improvements that could be made, and hopefully that happens in the next couple of years. Thank you.
Yes, 287 Route 17. Problem there is when that flyover was made, it was made improperly. The camber was wrong, and the speed limits weren't adhered to. Again, like Dave said, since they cut it down to 1 lane and slowed things down, it has vastly improved. The other problem you have there is you have a state agency we must be dealing with. And believe me, I'm not passing the buck. We are being the squeakiest wheels we can be, call them up all the time. But when you're finally told, don't call me anymore, I mean, what else can you do? You have state agency because you have 287 or 17, and you have federal because of 287 and Route 87. The other problem, as Dave mentioned, and we had mentioned this a lot when I was on council, was when they repaved the road, there was a problem with that paving. And not a lot was done about it. And I kept mentioning, and our attorney sometimes would yell at me for using the words, but I go, listen, this is a product liability case. If they put the wrong stuff down there and trucks are sliding off the road, they have to fix it. The other problem in that area is parking of trucks on the sides of the road. It's got to be stopped. And everyone says, well, if the truck drivers reach a certain time, they have to stop. It doesn't mean you stop where you're at. Right up in Sloatsburg, in Ramapo, 5 miles, there's a tandem truck lot. People can park there. Truck drivers are not dumb. They know where they're going. They know how long it takes to get there. In this case, when they park on the side of the road, I don't like to say it because I know a lot of guys who drive trucks, but these guys are lazy. And, you know, unfortunately, they don't want to deal with the traffic, so they'll pull over on the side while rush hour traffic goes. And I get it, but they should do it safely. We can't have people running into parked tractor trailers. And we just got to keep being the squeaky wheels, and hopefully it'll get fixed someday.
Yeah, so who hasn't sat in I-287, Route 17 traffic on a Friday in the summer? I understand it's absolutely an issue. But unfortunately, at this time, the NJDOT doesn't seem interested in the here and now in revisiting a traffic study. So to combat that, communication among different agencies, especially our police, our engineering, our county commissioners, our congressmen, that's really, really important to keep hammering the point that, hey, there are accidents, things are happening, and that things need to be addressed in terms of traffic and accidents. But also, too, we as drivers also can take some responsibility, and who hasn't used things like Waze or Google Maps or things like that? So if they know that there's traffic and things that could potentially trip them up in getting to their final destination, we are blessed in Mahwah with other roads, so perhaps if folks are concerned about getting stuck in traffic, use Waze. Maybe it can show you a different way to get to where you need to go without being stuck in traffic. Also to responsible driving, because we are so grateful for the fact that the NJDOT did reduce the flyover lanes from 2 to 1 lane, but it's also important that people take responsibility for the way that they drive, because if they're not driving the right way, they also have the potential to contribute to an accident. Also, too, people also need to understand as well, try not to park where you shouldn't be parked, because there are some people that came to a council meeting that lost their grandson because of an illegally parked tractor trailer. That situation did not have to happen. So people need to take responsibility for where they park, how they drive, also communicate as well with their, with the police department, and also gather data, and also stay in touch with state, local, and federal agencies to help take care of this situation. Thank you.
Two things. When I get off the George Washington Bridge going into New Jersey, there seems to be a million signs that say, if you want to go here, get in this lane. And I follow those directions really well because I want to get on Route 4 West. I don't think we have that many signs at the flyover and at that intersection. A few more signs may make a difference. Doing it on the pavement, also a good idea. But if we had a little bit more direction, overhead signs, it may be better. But much more importantly, what pissed me off was at the introduction of the prior plan for the Crossroads property where they were going to build 2 large warehouses. New Jersey Department of Transportation sent us a letter of disinterest. We are not interested in you. Sorry, Mahwah, not even sorry. Mahwah, we're not going to bother with this whole operation. We all know it's a problem, But they said, not our problem, your problem. What we need is more than a squeaky wheel. We need a major league effort. Everybody in this town is a stakeholder in Mahwah's future. We don't want Mahwah to be known as that big warehouse and that huge traffic problem. We should start with a grassroots effort and inundate Trenton, New Jersey Department of Transportation, and say to them, no, we're interested. You may be disinterested, but we're interested in our safety of our roads. People were killed in those in those intersections. This is again where we could use a citizens advisory board to the council and let them try to handle this so the council does not get burdened with a big, major, all hands on deck effort to get Trenton to wake up to the needs of Mahwah. Thank you.
Mahwah's initiatives for its senior community include a dedicated center and a calendar of events. Beyond general events like Mahwah Day, what ideas do you have for newer residents and young families to ensure that they feel a strong connection to the town of Mahwah? Is that right? Sure.
Okay, this one's right up my alley. I've been on the Recreation Committee for over 20 years, and we provide a lot for everyone in the community to do, not just the seniors. We pay special attention to our seniors, especially now that I am one. And we do certain things from Meet the Bunny. I've chaired that for 15 years, and we allow it to change and morph. The only things that we don't have, we have the Memorial Day Parade. We don't have a 4th of July parade, but there is a lot to do. We try to get as much information out there through our website and also through the recent hiring of our wonderful new rec director, Mary Beth Duffy. It's just fantastic. Mahwah Day, yes, that's the big one. That's the show of shows. But I don't know if you all know, and this month, on the 26th, since we didn't have the fireworks, we're now going to do our Halloween parade at Commodore Perry. We're putting it out there on Facebook. We can use a nixle, and it's going to have the holiday parade. There's going to be probably a couple of food trucks, maybe some crafts, and then the fireworks will be going off about 7 p.m. So, you know, there is lots to do in this town for everyone, both, you know, newcomers and people who've been here 35 years. And should anyone have any suggestions, any of those committees, especially Rec Committee, if you'd like to join, let us know. If you'd like to attend, let us know. All of us, you know, I've heard people talk about transparency. You don't get much more transparent. My phone number is on the television inside Town Hall as a member of the planning board. It was as a member of council. It's on the website. I answer it day or night. Well, maybe not at night, but I will call back. So there is a lot to do, and there's a lot of good other community people that are involved. Local realtors, they're taking some of the burden now so that it's not a pure expense from the town, but in my opinion, I wouldn't care if it was because I love doing it. Been doing it for 20 years. Thank you.
This is also one of my favorite topics, as I have had the pleasure of volunteering on things like the HSO, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, the Mahwah Film Arts and Music Committee, the Mahwah Community News as a content creator, the Mahwah Elks, and also the rotating Saturday lector at Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, so on Saturdays. So There's definitely things for people in Mahwah to do, but the one thing that definitely we could do is improve our communication to tell people about youth sports, scouting, faith-based communities, our recreation department, beautification, historic preservation, environmental, and especially my other special favorite thing, access for all. So volunteerism definitely is the best way to get people involved and feel engaged and connected to their community. So we would need to just communicate to people and just tell them either look at our websites, send emails, talk to us. There's definitely ways to find out what a group is all about, because let me tell you, there's something for everyone here in Mahwah, and that way they could get the schedules, look at the information, and see if it's something that they want to do, so that way they can give back to their community, get involved, stay involved, and encourage others to do the same. Thank you.
Anybody remember the Welcome Wagon organization? Used to come to the person's house when they moved in. Do we have a welcome wagon in Mahwah? I don't think so. Maybe it's something we could revisit. I like the idea of going to the house and saying, hello, welcome. Nothing beats that. Telling them about the website and all that, good, but nothing beats going to the house. Now, I was involved with the Mahwah Museum for a few years, and I learned a lot about Mahwah. Do you know that Mahwah had a movie theater at one time? There's a few books. There's one book in particular written by two Ramapo College professors that is titled From Settlement to Suburb, The History of Mahwah, dating from the time of the Indians to 1975 when the book was written. It's 50 years old, but it has a wealth of information, hundreds of pages long, wealth of information about the history of Mahwah, what we had, what was going on. Wonderful. If I get elected to the town council, one thing that I vowed to myself is I will buy the book from the Mahwah Museum, $25, and I'll go to every house where there's a newcomer to Mahwah, and I will give it to them as a gift. My wallet, not a big deal. And that hopefully will spark some interest in our town. I would also tell them at the time that if they're a veteran, I will give them one of the veteran signs that I produced. I've done that for the last 3 years. I'll do it again this year. And it says, Mahwah salutes your service. A veteran lives here. And you may have seen it around a little bit. We don't have many veterans who have not purchased, it's free, I give it to them for free, who have displayed their sign in front of their home. But if they're a veteran, I would certainly give it to them to make them feel that it's from one veteran to the other, that we are welcoming them into the town. So I would give them a book and a sign and welcome, and then I would explore this whole welcome wagon thing so people feel that they are welcomed and that they're part of the community, and we can tell them all about the website and all the good things that we have in the town, because we have a lot of activity in this town. It is amazing. And the people who run it, the coaches and all, fantastic. Thank you.
All right. This is a great question. Obviously, senior center, fantastic. What's out there for newer residents, young families? So we kind of just threw Mahwah Day in there. Mahwah Day is the best. So that's always number one. That's where you start. But obviously we have youth sports. That's always a good way for younger kids to meet other kids. We have realtors that in town that schedule play dates. I know the schools have like T socials or something like that, right? T socials for incoming kindergartners, so they can meet their future classmates, learn the school a little bit. But to the main point of the question, this is gonna be hard for me. So those of you that know me know that I fully endorse the Ramsey-Mahwah rivalry. And I do have to say that, so I think last year, I created the Northwest Bergen Council Members Association. And what happens is we meet quarterly, all the Northwest Bergen towns. And we just kind of, share what's going on in your town, hot topics, hot items, what are you dealing with? Maybe we dealt with it. And I got to give credit, Ramsey, unbelievable. So, and it's actually it's on the schedule. So one of the council people from Ramsey, they have an event, I think exactly what this is looking for, at the Ramsey Pool. They invite all of the new residents that move into town from the prior year. And then they have all the organizations in town set up tables so that people can go around and learn exactly what's offered in town, if they want to volunteer, if they want to become a part of it. And I thought that was such a great idea. I started working on it this year. Couldn't get anything on the calendar because the Mahwah Pool, I don't know if you know, is phenomenal. And they were basically booked the entire summer. So we're actually planning on doing that in June of next year. Probably be like the Friday night when the pool's not open to the general public before it fully opens. And same thing, like have, EMS there, fire, historic preservation, the library could have a table, and people can just walk around, learn what the town offers, and I think that'll be something great for new residents going forward. And then also, I think just another thing, just for for the young kids in town, we've been talking about it. Hopefully, it comes to fruition in the next couple of years. It would be a rec center somewhere. We got to figure out where. But I think that's definitely a goal of mine to develop a rec center so kids can have indoor sporting events and that kind of thing when the weather's not great, or just additional activities, not sports potentially. So that's it. Yep, time's up. Thank you.
Okay, our final question. When the pilot station facility was initially proposed, there was a fervent pushback on this project, stating all kinds of concerns such as location near the schools, etc. They turned out to be non-issues. Regarding a possible cannabis dispensary, what are your thoughts given the legal status of the product in New Jersey? And the order is Michelle, followed by John, David, and finally George.
Okay, so we all know that cannabis is legal in New Jersey. Some of us may have seen the Bud Bus on Route 23 and all these other stores that are further down 17 South. So my thoughts, given the legal status of cannabis in New Jersey, is that we are allowed to have it delivered here because that's just the one thing that was allowed in this town. Every other thing, such as retail, grow houses, warehouses, processing facilities, was outlawed, and I was on the council that did part of that. At this time, there is no right location in Mahwah for a cannabis dispensary. What people do in the privacy of their own home is their business, but it's just not the right, in my opinion, item to promote and to encourage, because there are other ways to get revenue to this town, not a cannabis dispensary. So given the legal status of that item here in the township of Mahwah, right now, I see no right location, and therefore there should not be one. So thank you so much.
Yes, I remember the pilot station. A lot of pushback, all kinds of bad things would happen, and it did turn out to be a non-issue. Cannabis, We turned it down because of the location. It was in the wrong spot. And there's been a lot of effort to try to find the right spot in Mahwah, and there is no right spot in Mahwah. And I particularly am not in favor of cannabis. It's available in New Jersey. It's about 15 minutes away from here. I'm not in favor of it. One of the problems, though, if somebody comes forth and meets all the requirements and does find some impossible spot to locate it, legally, I don't know what we could do to stop it. But I would be against it if it's in the wrong place. Thank you.
The pilot station, I remember those days. Just going back to that, there was a lot of things said about truck drivers back then. My dad was a cross-country truck driver, so I took a lot of offense to some of the comments that were made in those meetings. But I'm actually glad to see that this is acknowledged that none of those issues actually took place. Regarding cannabis, I thought that was a great experiment. Someone approached the township about doing a retail location right by the Rampo Ave exit. We were able to have, I think it was 3, town hall meetings. Residents come out, express your, yay or nay. If you like it, you don't like it. I thought it was a really good process. I was council president at that point, but I thought it was a really good process to, listen to the residents, listen to our police chief at the time, and just really get a good perspective. And then, the council actually didn't even get a chance to vote on it because then the applicant decided, just based on the pushback, they're like, we don't want to do this to the town, so it's fine. I will say, just to be honest, I think I mentioned it previously, I always look for revenue. So if, this becomes a revenue source in regards to the tax that's allowed, it's something to consider. Should it happen? Don't know. Bless you. Like the others have said, it's got to come down, it would have to come down to the right location, if there is one. The way Mahwah's cut, I don't know if that's possible. But like I said, it would just be considered. And we'd probably do the same exact thing. We'd probably have some town halls. I mean, ultimately, my preference would be is to put a non-binding referendum on one of these upcoming elections, just so everyone can see where the full town stands. Because back then, we started talking about the statewide vote and how Mahwah voted in that on that referendum, and we said, and everyone was saying that, well, they were really talking about elsewhere in the state, not really here in Mahwah. So I think a non-binding referendum would be the way to go, just so we can have a full understanding of what the majority of the town wants. Then obviously would be the location issues, but neither here or there. I'm not. It doesn't matter to me if it ever happens or if it doesn't happen. Personally, I think that the time to get in was initially, because I think that's when you're going to benefit the most. As more towns do dispensaries and the existing towns that already have dispensaries add even more dispensaries, people have options. They're going to go elsewhere. You're not going to make the revenue that you'd want, and probably not worth it in the end. So that's it. Thank you.
Yes, the famous cannabis ordinance. I think a lot of us who were sitting on council at that time took a lot of heat about that. I think I was the one who introduced it to actually be discussed. And people automatically assumed that I introduced it to be discussed, that I was for it. They could be nothing further from the truth. Because unless you have an open discussion about something, you can't say no until you discuss it. Otherwise, it's a non-issue at that point. Could be brought up by anyone else at any other time. As a matter of fact, when it came time that we killed that ordinance, I believe I made the motion to permanently remove it from further consideration. Again, taxes, well, hey, you want to lower your taxes, we can start selling dope. but that's not the way to do it. Again, if someone comes to the council, maybe it won't go as far as it did last time with actually having an ordinance out there, but we have a duty to talk to every resident, every stakeholder, everyone who wants to do business in this town, whether we like the business or not. We have a duty to at least hear what they have to say. We don't have to listen to what they say, but we have to hear it, hear the words, make an intelligent decision, and be responsible. Is it the way of the future? I don't know. We don't allow any of it in this town. Even the delivery cannot start in this town. We cannot, though, impede upon a delivery coming from a neighboring town into our town. So it's there. People want it, they can get it. Is there going to be a time for it in the future? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball. I wish I did. But hopefully in the future, we'll have more information. I do like the idea of doing a non-binding referendum and finding the right location. And that's not our job. Our job is, once a location comes to us, deciding whether it's the right location or not, because we don't own the property. We're not making a pot store. Someone else is. Just like affordable housing. We are not building it. Other people are. And we have to deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. I hope you found it informative. I know every year I learn more and more. And this is just, we really enjoy presenting this. Just a reminder, we'll be back here tomorrow night for same sort of format with Janet and Jim. And again, just a reminder, if you wanted to tell anyone that couldn't make it or couldn't get a chance to watch it, this will be archived on the Mahwah Library YouTube page. And with that, thank you for attending. Everyone have a good night.